Open your eyes. You are no longer in 2026. It is 1942, at the height of World War II. Before you can even understand what's happening, air raid sirens ring out across the city. Everyone starts running. Children are crying. Mothers clutch their children as they run. Men are shouting, "Get to the shelter! Hurry! You have less than a minute. If you stay where you are, you may never see another sunrise." You rush into an underground shelter. The shelter is packed with dozens of terrified families. No one speaks. Everyone waits. Then suddenly, the shelter shakes violently. Another explosion. Then another. Every person stares at the ceiling wondering, will it collapse on us? An hour passes, then two. Finally, you are allowed to leave. But the city you step into is no longer the one you entered. Buildings have disappeared. The streets are buried under rubble. A thick cloud of smoke covers the sky. In the distance, a man sits silently in front of what used to be his home. Only one wall is still standing. Then you remember. You haven't eaten. You head to the ration store, but you can't buy whatever you want. You hand the shopkeeper your ration card. He looks at it, then gives you a small loaf of bread, a little sugar, and perhaps some butter if you're lucky. Meat? You may not see it for weeks. Chocolate? It has become a distant memory. Even eggs are sometimes sold one at a time instead of by the dozen. And after waiting in line for hours, you may hear just one sentence. We're sold out. So you return home empty-handed. Now it's time to go to work, but don't expect an air-conditioned office. If you're a factory worker, you may spend 12 hours a day producing ammunition, tanks, or aircraft. The noise never stops. Breaks are short, because every minute means more supplies for the front lines. If you're a farmer, you're expected to grow as much food as possible. Millions of people depend on your harvest. Then one day, an official envelope arrives at your door. You open it. It's a military draft notice. You have only a few days before you leave. This may be the last time you ever see your family. Your mother struggles to hold back her tears. Your father tries to stay strong, and you don't even know where you're being sent or whether you'll ever return. Weeks later, you find yourself on the battlefield. The cold is unbearable. Mud is everywhere. You get only a few hours of sleep, and sometimes none at all. Food is scarce. Water may not be safe to drink. The sound of artillery never stops. You may spend days under constant bombardment, without ever seeing the enemy. At any moment, everything could end with a single shell. That's why soldiers wrote letters to their families whenever they could. Not because they loved writing, but because they never knew if that letter would be their last. Back in the cities, life is no easier. As night falls, every light is turned off, not to save electricity, but to prevent enemy bombers from spotting the city from the sky. Imagine an entire city plunged into complete darkness. You are not even allowed to let light escape through your windows. Children didn't have a normal childhood either. Many were evacuated to safer rural areas. Some didn't see their parents for years. Others never saw them again. Hospitals were always overcrowded. Doctors worked for endless hours without rest. Medicine was in short supply. The number of wounded was overwhelming. Sometimes, doctors had to decide who would receive treatment first, because they simply couldn't save everyone. When the war finally ended in 1945, people didn't celebrate because they had become wealthy. They celebrated because the fear had finally stopped, but the cost was unimaginable. An estimated 70 to 85 million people lost their lives during World War II, making it the deadliest conflict in human history. Entire cities took years to rebuild. Millions of children grew up without one or both of their parents. Today, we might complain about slow internet or a phone running out of battery, but more than 80 years ago, the greatest wish of millions of people was simply to make it through one more day, without bombs falling, and without losing someone they loved. So if you woke up tomorrow in 1942, how many days do you think you would survive?